It's a little strange because I hear myself. Do you hear yourself? Okay. I think we have technical difficulties. Fun. All right. I don't. Can you test? Say
You
something?
need me to test.
Okay.
Testing
All
one,
right.
two, three.
I think we are live. We are live,
All
and
right.
hopefully people are receiving. Just I had a little bit of technical difficulty as I had to sort out different things. So please understand if you don't hear us, but just let us know by um, leaving it in the chat that you guys don't hear us. Just let us know how you are receiving.
I think so far we
Yeah.
should be good.
Okay. Well, I think we can just kind of kick it off. Yeah. I didn't hear the intro sound, so I'll have to work that out. But anyways, so welcome everybody who's watching.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. You might actually be watching this on the record as well. But today, Ted is back. Yay! Yeah. And yeah, it's Tuesday night here, so which means that we get to do little chat between us today at least, and we're gonna kind of start off. Today's topic was supposed to be the 360 camera. So I have an exciting new product on my table that I would like to show. But before we get into that, I wanted to do a bit of housekeeping stuff. So Tuesday, 9 p.m., at least on my side of the earth, is, we like to talk about anything AC, tech, life, anything that we are just interested in. And, because this is live recording, any of you are welcome to join and chat with us. If you just kind of missed the live show, then you're welcome to leave comments. I'll always be monitoring it, so I'll be able to kind of get back to you on comments as well. But otherwise, if you are here, then I would love to chat with you as well on the chat, and Ted here as well. So, how you been doing, Ted?
Good, good. Sorry about my absence. I've been busy and then also on vacation. So we took a little beach trip with the family, and that's part of the reason why I was absent last week specifically. And then the week before, we had a sick kiddo. So yeah, I was a little disappointed the last couple of weeks not being a part of this. So I apologize to you and everybody else. But yeah, there are some things out of my control the last couple of weeks. But this week I'm back, and I'm looking forward to chatting up with Joseph.
Awesome.
So.
So since we're talking about 360 camera, we just kind of had a little bit of discussion, but you said you don't have much experience with 360 camera. What do you know and what do you wonder about? Perhaps something we could answer during the show?
Yeah, so I have zero experience with 360 cameras. My experience goes back to the traditional photographing multiple views from a single point with a wide fisheye lens and then stitching everything together in post. Or the other end of that is using something like a drone to capture a 360 and then stitching it together in post. So it's definitely something I'm interested in. I've almost bought one a couple of times myself, but there are so few jobs that we do locally. It doesn't really make sense for me personally to spend the money on something like a 360 camera if we're never on site. So, but it's one thing that I've always been interested in experiencing, testing, playing with. So I'm curious about this unboxing and talking about the camera I've heard a lot about the Insta360, and I could see some potential for generating, HDRIs on the fly and getting accurate 360s of specific locations on site. It could be a really useful tool.
When I was first sort of investigating and doing sort of the research, something that I looked into was either the drone or 360 cameras, or maybe both, if I can kind of justify. But I never ended up purchasing a drone just because if I ever use it for either YouTube or site visit purposes, I need to be licensed, at least in Tennessee. For any commercial
Yep.
purposes, I have to be licensed, and I just didn't want to go through that hoops. And also, something that I found out is the fact that you can get very drone-like shots out of 360 cameras for strange reasons. So I'll get into a bit more in that in terms of workflow or the weird perks of using 360 cameras and what kind of things are out there. Actually, there's a very interesting features here and there that are aside from just known 360 photo or video type of applications. So I'm happy to just kind of endeavor in those areas too. But today, it is not sponsored, but they have provided me this product for me to unbox and showcase to all of you. Welcome, Ahmed. Ahmed, Imad. Hello,
Emod.
Imad.
I think Emod.
Yeah, glad you're here. Yes. So I think the text is actually backwards here, but it's supposed to say Insta360 ONE X2. So this is a predecessor of ONE X, and yeah, it's one of 360 cameras, and I actually own two other ones as well. So this is Insta360 ONE X, and then this is Insta360 ONE R. So cool thing about this is the fact that this came out first, and it was pretty much a home run. And for the longest time, you just couldn't get this one in stock to buy it. And
Hmm.
this has been sort of the standard when it comes to doing 360 photos and site photos. And I have featured this camera on my channel a few times doing Matterport type of site scanning, so you can actually do like just not only 360 but like 3D scanning out of this using Matterport in conjunction with this camera.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that is possible with this camera. And then also this one is what they came out afterwards. It's more of a action cam format. And this specific one is 360 lens on it. So it pretty much does the exact same thing as that camera. It's just that it has a touch screen, so you're able to see a lot more what you're shooting. Whereas on this one, you don't get to really see what you're shooting other than connecting to your phone. Then you can monitor what's going
And
on.
it's modular, isn't it?
This one is modular. So this one you can
Yeah.
actually take out the battery, and then it divides into this two module. This is the head unit where the display and the buttons are. And then there are two different type of or three different type of lenses that are available. This specific one is 360, but then you can get 1 inch sensor, which is much bigger, and also there's a 4K,
Hmm.
which if I can reach it. Sorry. Yeah, so here is a 4K sensor. So this is more traditional action cam like lens. So all you need to do is just puzzle piece. And either you can put it this way so that when you turn it on, you see the screen and then the lens is on the other side. So you're kind of shooting with this as
Oh,
long as
nice.
you attach, or you can flip it so that it's more of a selfie so that you kind of see yourself on the little tiny screen if you wish to.
So
Obviously,
Joseph,
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, no,
So
go ahead.
I'm kind of a surf nerd. Do they also offer? So this is unrelated to architecture whatsoever. Do they also have a water housing for that as well?
This is
Do you know?
waterproof.
Oh,
Strangely.
okay. So just out of the box, it's waterproof.
Yeah, it's not
Beautiful.
waterproof. It is water resistant, but you can dunk it in the
Okay.
water. It shouldn't have problem. Although I took out the little cover
The
for
door. Yeah.
the just because it's easier to get into the USB. Otherwise it just flaps around. So I took that out,
Mm.
but you can just cover it, and by nature it is water resistant. You can dunk it.
Okay.
And the strange thing about that is that this was not water resistant, but the new one is. So this one you can actually dunk it
Okay.
in water too. It's just that when you're inside the water, there's a strange amount of distortion when it comes to the lens behavior
Yep.
on
Yeah.
360 lens. So you need to put different type of post processing, or if you want to go deeper in the water, then there's a housing that you can get.
Hmm.
That sort of bypasses the distortions and all. But so
So.
you can get that for this one and this one and
Yep.
this one as well.
So I've got a lot of experience with GoPro cameras, and one of the things that is nice about the most recent GoPro is you don't have to deal with the housing anymore. But I'm always hesitant to bring it into bigger surf because I'm afraid, because I'm an avid surfer, I'm in the water regularly. I'm always a little leery of the newer equipment not having a housing on it because it gets knocked around so hard. So this is totally unrelated to anything that we're talking about today for architecture, but yeah, I've been looking at the Insta. Which one was that one that you're holding right there?
One
The
R.
Insta One R.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that when that came out, and it was a really interesting concept, really interesting camera. I don't know what the future proofing is for that, whether they're going to be releasing other modules. I know they've got a handful of them, but the one version 2, which is really confusing name.
Yes, yes.
But the Insta360 1.2, we'll call it. Yeah, that's something that I'm curious about. I definitely think I'm going to be picking one of these up in the near future, just as a tool for kind of the sports that I tend to do.
Well, so because it's modular, when something breaks, either the lens or the head unit or the
Hmm.
battery, then you can replace it for much cheaper price than what you would out of this one. Because if you were
Which
to
is
correct
really
the
nice.
lens, then you pretty much gotta replace the entire unit. And
Yep.
also, uh, one of the thing is I first had this camera and then I was doing site visits and it proven very well. But because I'm doing some video work or because I'm part YouTuber, I needed some camera that could do a little better than what my phone can, and I needed some stabilized footage. And I have been using this for my as my overhead camera for a very long time because this is so light. And as soon as I connect this to my computer, let me see if I can. I haven't tested this, so I'm doing all of this on the fly. But the
Live demos.
yes, live demos, and basically you just connect through USB-C cable, and then you just turn on the camera, and then this actually starts feeding as a webcam. It starts working as a webcam.
Oh wow, that's
So
nice.
let's see. Um, so I can.
I imagine it's got a pretty good level of detail, high quality.
Yeah. What it really excels in is the stabilized footage. So for videos, it stabilized very well all the shakes, and this is not working for whatever reason, obviously. Um, But for photo, it's mediocre. The phones become so good that photo, I feel like I don't benefit as much unless you get the 1 inch sensor, which is supposedly much better
Mm-hmm.
quality imaging.
Yep.
The light,
5K, 30 frames a second. I just looked it up.
Yeah,
Didn't
the
even know they
larger
had
the
this.
sensor it is, the better footage that you get. So, Imad is saying something about real estate. Oh, my thing just changed. It is
Ooh.
not,
I
it's a weird
think
color.
Yeah, I think your USB plug is probably having something to do with that.
Yeah. Let me go back to
It's a
my.
filter. It's a feature.
That's strange. Anyways, and well, I must get this working because there's a very interesting feature that I also wanted to cover. And again, the webcam feature doesn't work on One X, whereas One R
Hmm.
has the webcam feature, and that allows. And recently, they got this update about being able to change the zoom. So I need to turn that off because it recognizes the faces and it zooms into faces, but that
Hmm.
is like really, really distracting. So now you can turn that off, and supposedly when you connect, it will detect. And I've got so many cameras connected right now to my computer, so who knows what my computer is thinking. Again, the color isn't working,
That's strange.
but at least I can demonstrate the fact.
Is that the same plug? The same USB?
Yeah, it. I
I
maybe.
wonder.
Yeah,
I
it.
wonder if the USB has a bad wire, bad connection.
Yeah, it looks like something's going on. Well, you know what? Though, I can undo this and then connect the 360 module. So 360 module does something very strange. So what it does is you can. I just did this over the weekend. I had a little dinner, family gathering, but my grandma is overseas, so she wanted to just kind of take part in our family gathering.
Hmm.
And she's savvy enough to call in a voice or FaceTime type of chat, but we all wanted to kind of show our faces, but the group chat wasn't really option. So what I did was I called her and then I connected this camera. And what it does is that because it's 360, it shows both sides of the table and splits it. So
Oh,
in
nice.
the meeting room type of setup, you can set it on the middle of the table and then basically do a conference, and then it is able to capture both sides of the table.
That's pretty cool. That's a really
It's a neat.
robust little tool.
Yeah, and they keep updating these things, so it gets better and better. It almost feels like you see.
Wow. That's slick.
Sorry for going away from the frame. I'm just trying to get
No.
tripod so that
We get to see the rest of your room.
it's obvious that I haven't really prepared any of these. But hopefully, at least this one doesn't have that weird color. I wonder if it is the like some sort of dust that got stuck in a
Could be.
lens. If the wire is long enough.
Maybe it just didn't make a good connection when you clipped the two pieces together, too.
Yeah, I need to investigate that. But here, there you go.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So you
so
could potentially have a whiteboard on the backside and have faces on that's
yeah, so I could have
big convenience.
John over here, and then here is David, and then Joseph and Ted, and all of us could be
Go
included in
team.
the shot. So yeah, it's a very interesting setup, and the fact that it allows to do that, and just like a neat feature. And I feel like this is something that you can do because it's just working as like a webcam.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to share that, and supposedly all of these features are available on this new camera that I'm about to feature. So let me just wrap that up. Back to my normal camera. Sorry. Any questions? I mean, if anyone has any questions, I'll be
Hey,
happy
Joseph,
to.
can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hey, Joseph, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Are they saying they can't hear you?
Sorry about that. I had my mic
Okay.
disconnect all of a sudden.
Okay. Um, Maybe I'll leave this one like this. Okay. Can you hear me? I could hear you. Ted, we could hear you, but you can't hear us.
There we go. There
All
we
right.
go.
Are we good?
I think so.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, we heard you all along. I don't know what happened. We could hear you. Lots of stuff going on. Let me write to him. We could hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. My microphone disconnected, then I accidentally switched to my headphones, and anyways, moving on.
Okay. So you could hear us.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. What did Emma said? First, 360 renders are something that's quite related to this. Either it be equirectangular and mono versus stereo. Those are the things that you need to be aware of when you're doing 360 renders. And using it.
In your experience, do you use stereo 360s very often?
Yes,
Really?
because it depends which host software that you use. But even on like the Google
Google Cardboard, yeah.
type of devices, it makes a huge difference. You can feel the distance on a stereo panoramas versus mono. It doesn't.
So I rarely ever get the request to do stereo anything, just because most of what is shown ends up on a website, and no one can actually use the stereo
And people
for
don't really
anything.
understand the difference. But when I'm
Yeah.
showcasing and having the client over and I'm just putting or handing over the device, I rather put the stereo, just because it makes a huge difference in terms of the experience. Anyway, so let me go ahead and open this one. So
What we're all here for.
yes. What's the max quality? Yeah, it is 5K for the it is 4K for the 4K lens. When it comes to photo, I think it's a little bit higher, but for video. And also it is 5.2K or something like that for 360 cameras, and also the 1-inch sensor on ONE R. And I believe for videos, this one also 5.2K. So in terms of video and photo quality, all three cameras share very similar qualities. It's just that this one has a bit better processing, so the colors and distortion becomes a little bit better on here. So one of the things that I have experienced, 5.1, thank you. One of the things that I had experienced is that this one has heavier distortion on the wide or 360 shots, and sometimes the horizon will suffer. It doesn't look exactly flat. Sometimes images are slightly slanted, and there's not really an easy way to fix that. And I've done multiple calibration. I just couldn't get that to work so well on ONE X. However, on ONE R, it's just straight all the time. I haven't needed to do any calibration or nothing like that, and all the distortion looks much better on here. And supposedly this one has much better video quality, just because of the post-processing, and the color is slightly better, but it doesn't introduce huge amount of boost in terms of resolution. I think the sensor is the same, it's just the processing that's slightly different. And I like the fact that they also have a professional firmware for both of these cameras. So the ones that are meant for more professional usage, the firmware allows you to have a bit different set of features, is what I had
Interesting.
understood. So there are definitely things that you can utilize. And I should turn on the camera. I had tested this. Yay! It is working.
Hey,
Overhead
that
camera is
works.
working. Good. So, Insta360 ONE X2 unboxing is over here. So, it's a typical fashion. So here, in comparison, we can immediately kind of compare. Let me undo the cover one-handedly. And you see how it is a little bit thicker. But one of the biggest benefit of using ONE X and ONE X2 over ONE R is the fact that this one, you see how I kind of mounted onto smartphone bracket to just kind of pinch that and mount it on here because it doesn't have the normal tripod thread. However, ONE X has this tripod thread. So for someone who's
Ah,
looking to do site visits and the Matterport scanning for 3D scan type of thing, this is much easier because you can just thread that in, and then there's no fiddling with the USB cables, and the micro SD card slots right in here. There's no cover that you need to fiddle in. It's a one thing, and also the battery itself is inexpensively available, and you can just kind of
yeah.
charge this
Pop it in.
elsewhere, or you can buy non-OEM batteries and then just put it in. Whereas it's really difficult to find non-OEM battery for ONE R just because of its waterproofness. That's been something, and the battery life is slightly better on that one versus this one. So that's been a couple of things. But when somebody asks for site visits and 360 photo type of purposes, which camera do you recommend? And I definitely recommend, I have been recommending this one because it's just simpler. This one is modular, so there's a bit more that you can do with it, but also there are a few
For the
things.
average user, it becomes more difficult.
Yeah, and especially because this one has a GoPro type of mount that you can get. So it's like a little plastic casing, and then it has a GoPro mount. And whenever you're doing 360 photo, you've got to make sure you're level, completely level. And because GoPro mount is always doing this, there's no way to make sure that it is perfectly level. And that's introduced a few problems before. That's why I had to just kind of do a weird fixing of the.
I mean, that works pretty good.
This one works pretty good. And it's only because I've done many things and tried it. Anyways, going back here, let's do the peel. So there is a peel for the screen and also the lens. So this one here on ONE X, it used to be the screen was just a digital screen, no color, nothing, and it just displays information like numbers and how long the take was, or
And the new one's a literal screen.
and this one actually shows you what the lens is seeing. So it becomes a little bit more than I'm short nailed, so I can't peel this. I apologize.
That one's giving you trouble.
Yeah. So this screen is much bigger, and it's color, and it's a touch screen, so you can control just like how you control on the ONE R. So basically, it's kind of like these two kind of combined together, but that is not modular in some ways. So they took a good feature out of and combined it in here. That's another peel that I need to do. Okay. So that is it. Let me get a little feet so I can just stand it rather than laying it on the table.
I'm really liking this overhead camera setup you got.
Yeah, it works. Good.
Yeah, this is working really well.
I'm glad.
Oh, look at that. Looks like a little robot.
lots of technical hoops that we had to jump through, but it's working so far. Okay, well, since I've got all of these cameras, let's get the main guy over here. Kind of works. Any questions so far as I go through this accessory bag? All right, nothing else in the box other than this one. So I presume there's going to be some
What'd you get for
cable.
goodies?
Say it again.
No stickers.
No, you know what? There are stickers. They always give out stickers. Hey.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
Gotta have at least one.
Well, I gotta put it somewhere. Does that work?
Hashtag product placement.
Yes. Well, thanks Insta360 for sending me this camera to showcase, and you get a lovely product placement today.
Beautiful.
Yes. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So we've got some cable for charging, I suppose, and also stuff that you shouldn't eat. And this is USB-C, so USB-A on one end, USB-C. So I suppose you can charge it somehow. We'll get around doing that. And then here is a cover.
So the little covers that you have on the other two cameras, are those aftermarket things that you bought, or did they come with it?
Yeah, they are mostly aftermarket thing, but this one is
Okay.
made by Insta360, and it was like $9-10, and it just works.
I mean, it's worth it to prevent your lens from getting all scratched up.
They did include like a very similar case as this one here, but I didn't like it as much because it had like a lanyard attached to it, and it was just becoming much bigger than what it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
And I just preferred this kind of thing so that it just protects lens and that's it. And also I want to use this camera, so let's say I'm charging it up by connecting it or downloading the data, but you can't get it out of there, so because when it's inside you can't really connect anything to it. But when you have this cover, then you can just lay it flat on the table without scratching, because these 360 lenses all kind of bulge out of the camera, so you can't lay them on the floor or table.
Yeah.
So I like that little lens hood or lens cap. And this one was purchased separately. Oh no, this one came with the lens actually. Insta360 included this little lens cap, so I can put it on. For 4K one, I actually had to buy this off of Amazon. It was another $10 thing, and then so I can just put it here. There's like a different third-party one that you can get to cover this contact point. Obviously, we had some issue with perhaps some dust getting stuck, but we'll figure that out once I get some time on my own. But in here, we've got the case. It's like polyurethane type of stretchy thing, so you can put it on. So I guess they didn't include the rubbery cap for this one. It's pretty small. So let's call it the glove. It is not going in easily. Yeah, I want it to be a little bit faster than this. And
wow.
Yeah, if it is this difficult to put it on, then there's more
that's
chance.
not something that's gonna be.
Yeah, that's gonna be more
regularly
chance that I'm gonna be dropping it if
Maybe you
it
just
is-
gotta stretch it out a little bit.
maybe. Well, anyways,
Snug the first couple of times.
yep. And I've got some paperwork. Is this reading on overhead camera, all white. Yeah, long reading if you wish to. Do you read Chinese or Japanese?
I do not.
Okay, well, Korean's not in here either, so we'll skip the English part. Warranty, and then this is lens cleaning cloth, I think. Emad
Just
is,
tear it.
you need lens guard for 360. Yes, absolutely, you need it.
And he's also saying they do have a problem with reflection. So, Imad, are you referring to issues with reflection, like glare on the lens, or what specifically?
Yeah, when there's a specific direction of sunlight, then you can't. There's a
Ah,
huge amount of glare because of the curvature on the lens,
yeah.
and
It
that's
almost acts like a
why.
magnifying glass.
Yeah, and also, and it is not recommended to for at least Metaport type of thing. Outdoor doesn't work as well as it does in an indoor, just because there's huge amount of glare and it has problems stitching the images when it comes to outdoor.
Mm-hmm.
So that has been an issue. Not as much problem for videos, just because you get movement and then a little bit of
It only
glare is
happens per
understood.
second, yeah.
But for photos, then it can actually cover a large amount of what you're trying to capture the picture of. So that could be a problem.
So, Joseph, you've got a lot more experience with this than I do. When you're shooting from an Insta360, now I don't know obviously about this new one because I assume you haven't used it yet,
Hmm.
but do you find that you have a lot of control over exposure and things like that, or is it just very, very automatic?
I tend to rely on camera's decision, but
Okay.
there are different priorities that you can set. So what I tend to do, especially indoors, because I'm doing a lot of site visits and having that information is really critical. So, and having the quality is really needed. So the lower the ISO in people who understands camera or the
Hmm.
exposure world, the lower the ISO, the lesser noise it is. In the rendering world, that is not the case. But the more light there are, the better, obviously, for both of the world. But also, you want to reduce the amount of ISO. So ISO is basically sensitivity on the metrics for the sensors. And the more sensitive you become, the more sensitive you become towards noises as well. Therefore,
Yeah.
you want to reduce that amount, the number on ISO. So 100 is the standard. Some cameras allow you to go lower than that, but um, in this one, you typically just set it to 100 and lock it so that you just have longer period of exposure, meaning the shutter speed becomes longer so that it contains more light information for it to capture a photo of. And usually we're setting it on a tripod anyway, so it doesn't matter if it is a very long shutter. So that's what I tend to set it on. So
Right.
ISO priority at 100, and then basically it'll
Okay.
decide on what shutter speed it needs to put on.
So I'm always thinking like a 3D artist. So my thought on this is I'm wondering how to bracket a shot within the Insta360 and if that's even possible. Because when you want like a high quality HDRI image, and I don't know if everybody knows this or not, you want what is called bracketing, where you have um,
Darker shots,
a
mid
dark
shot.
and a light shot. Yeah, so you have dark, mid, light. So underexposed to overexposed. And by compressing all of those exposures into one single shot in a high dynamic range image, HDRI, you can then get much more dynamic exposure for your HDRI dome images. So, and I know I'm getting a little technical here, but these are the things that I think about when I
No, no,
see
no, that's absolutely
tools like
valid.
this because it's really useful to be able to shoot something like this. Because in the old days, like I was saying, the ways that you would have to photograph an HDRI is you had two options. You could use a big metal sphere, and I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's a big chrome ball that we'd put on a stick. You would photograph the chrome ball, and it would give you a 360-degree view, and then you would take that into Photoshop and bracket it that way.
Hmm.
Or the other way, the more effective way, is you would get a really wide angle fisheye lens. You would point it at the sky, then you would point it in front, to the sides, behind, and even down in some cases. And then you would stitch those 4, 5, 6 shots, depending on what you took together. And you would do that bracketed. So you take 4 or 5 shots of the sky, really dark to really light. And then you do it in the front, dark to light. And then you'd have to go back and you'd have to stitch all of those images in Photoshop. And then you would have to combine all of those stitched 360s into one HDRI. And it was such a labor intensive process.
Yeah.
So labor intensive.
And I've seen this process and I was like, wow, there's no way like I'm actually doing this. And no wonder they're charging so much for
Yep.
all of these HDRI images.
Yeah.
And
Like the really good HDRI.
he just kind of paused there. But the really good HDRI images are very, very expensive, and that's always how it has been, and it always was a problem getting that. And let me just kind of put him out of misery. Yeah, let's have him join later. Um, Yeah, so basically, HDRI has been very, very expensive and troublesome to get just because of its cumbersome process to produce. And actually, even at a beginning, or sorry, the entry level cameras, DSLR cameras allow you to do this bracketing, at least between um, so that you have sort of the darker image and the mid exposure and then much higher exposure value so that you have different set of the exposure values so that you can just combine it later. And I don't think these cameras do that, but I believe I heard a feature that is being allowed on here for bracketed shots for because it's supposed to support HDR images. So HDR photo is going to be captured out of this. So I think that is something for me to test later on. But something that you should keep in mind is the fact that Enscape allows you to take regular JPEG images for 360 photo background, the backdrops. So it doesn't have to be high dynamic range type of image. You can still use JPEG image as your backdrop. So that's something that we can utilize when it comes to taking photos and using it as your HDRI or just as a 360 backdrop. So whilst Ted is trying to join back, he just texted me saying he's internet crapped out. But here we've got several doors, if you may. So in terms of the button layout, we've got the lens here and then the screen and then the button, and there's a little LED indicator at the bottom. There is a quarter 20 normal tripod thread that I was threading into, and on the other side is sort of the light indicator. Hey, Ted is back. And he's not there. Okay. And then the microphone, I believe, holes on there. So it is supposed to detect a different direction sound that is coming. I think I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total microphone holes. And I think that's a speaker. So on the side, there's a power button and then speaker. So it's all there. And then power button, I need to turn that on. So welcome back, Ted. You are gone.
Yeah, I think my router's dying.
Okay.
Because it's been dropping internet on a regular basis now.
That's fine. We're rolling and just looking at the camera over here. So here somehow I need to get this battery out. So using this door, you see how massive the battery is?
Oh, wow.
Compared
like
to what it
half the
used to
size of the camera itself.
Look, so this is the size that it used to be on One X. camera is
What does
kind
it
of.
say the milliamp hour on that thing is?
You know what? It says 1630 milliamp hour, and on the knockoff version of the One X battery used to be. This is weird. It says 1500. That can't be right. They might be claiming more than what they actually have.
It probably is claiming a little bit more, but
Yeah,
I mean,
but
it's a
but
little
it
fatter.
yes, very ever so slightly. Let me look at the OEM battery. Because because the knockoff batteries could pretty much say whatever they want and not really be true.
10,000 milliamp hours.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah. So the OEM version is just 1050, so just over 1,000, whereas this one is
Okay.
1600, 1630. So it is one and a half times more
Yeah,
than what it used to be.
that's
I mean,
nice.
given that it now has a color screen, it's not gonna last as long. It is probably gonna consume more battery, but the the fact that you were able to fit much bigger battery is quite impressive. And just look at
It is a slightly larger unit, though,
it is, and I
but
think
I'll take it. I mean, they're both palmable. You can fit them in your pocket. They're tiny.
yeah, they are. I mean, in comparison to a phone,
That it reminds me of a phone from the
old
early
days.
2000s. My
the
Nokia brick.
yeah, the old days, like
I miss playing Snake on my Nokia brick.
yeah. So,
That's great.
I don't know if there's like external chargers that are available. I think they are. So you
There
can.
are, because I was Googling while you were talking, and there's a docking station for the Insta360 now, the
Oh,
second one, and it's got 3 or 4 docking ports that you can place batteries in.
yeah. I'm just inserting SD card. Apparently, there's SD card inside of the battery slot.
Good old micro SD.
hmm Oh, and you need to get really fast micro SD cards. I
Mm.
don't think this one's rated for this usage because it needs to write very fast and unload those video data. 5Ks are heavy, so it needs to have fast SD card. There's like a class 10. They have so many standards, so it's hard to remember what is what. But basically, you need to get very fast SD cards for it to write properly. Otherwise, it's gonna throw you an error.
Yeah, I think it's class 10.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I have a little bit of charger. Let's turn it on. Hold down the power button. That's usually how we turn things on, right? So there you go. Oh wow.
Oh, that's cool.
That is a high resolution. I can't capture that, possibly capture that on camera, but that is a very high resolution um, camera. Interesting. And there's a feature. So basically, I can use this as like a point and shoot type of camera. So it only turns on one side of the lens so that it is just a wide lens. Whereas
Hmm.
that wasn't really possible here. So that's sort of the added feature to this. And let me just explore what's here. So
You know, Joseph, you're gonna make me spend more money than I anticipated spending, because now I want one of these.
my I was using this to at my sister's wedding because I thought it would be nice for her to see what the wedding was like as regular attendee than the person who's
Hmm.
getting married. So I was using this so that I recorded the video and I show it to her later on. But my uncle saw me using it, and he rides jet ski on the weekends, and he's like, I needed a waterproof camera, 360 camera, so that I can just capture what I'm doing. And I was like, well, you can get one of these. So apparently he's been using this, so he spent more than what he wanted to, but yeah, it
I mean,
was.
it's probably worth it.
Yeah, the screen is very dim. It says Insta360 and then it fades away. I don't know what's going on. Oh,
It
okay.
might have an auto dimming feature so that it's not spending a lot of energy.
Oh, it's telling me to connect with my phone.
Ah,
Yeah.
the joys of everything connecting.
Well, at least it is rotating as I spin. All the UI is rotating. That's something that I didn't think I needed, but yeah, you do. And there are buttons. So 360 photo mode, I can swipe to to look around.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so you can look around by swiping on it. So I can look up. I'm looking at the monitor. Let me see if I can turn on the webcam feature somehow. Tap on it. Auto, manual. So here is a way to like set different exposure. I can what's going on? I'm looking at the file. No file taken yet. Here is photo mode, video mode. Again, whilst you were gone, I was talking about HDR feature. So this camera is able to capture HDR images. So that's going to have much higher dynamic range than regular cameras. Supposedly ONE R has that too, but I haven't really tested it. I'm not really big on HDR images. But for capturing the backdrops, you probably want higher dynamics. And I think they do it by like 3 bracketed shots so that you can basically have higher dynamics.
Right. But I'm curious what the export image file is in that case. If it compresses it back down to a JPEG, it may not be as functional as I'd like it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But if it exports it as RAW or TIFF, EXR, depending on what it exports as, I doubt it does either of those, but you never know.
Yeah, and also I mentioned that the Enscape allows you to import JPEGs for the backdrops too. So 5 minutes
We're getting
left.
yelled at.
Yeah.
That's all right. We got 5 minutes left. That's perfect.
Well, the setting, there are different. You can set the brightness. This is the same exact feature I've seen at ONE R. So there's a voice activation, so you can say it so that you capture image, then it'll capture image, turn off. It'll turn it off.
So I've
Start
had that
recording.
on my GoPro for ages. I never use it.
I never use it either. But also, there's another one where you can connect your wireless earphones, like iPods. I've actually used one of my.
Oh, do you use the like one of the volume buttons to click?
No,
Okay.
no. Basically, you connect one of these wireless earbuds to the camera so that you don't have to have a microphone so close to you or a camera so close to you, and it records
Oh.
voice through these wireless ones.
Oh, so you essentially it's a lav mic without having a lav mic.
Yeah, there's a slight delay and compression in terms of
But still,
the.
that's pretty convenient.
It is absolutely convenient, and I'm trying to go through the webcam mode so at least I can show you on the stream. Video encoding, voice control, Bluetooth, general, USB mode, webcam. Yay, found it. Webcam, please. And then I need to somehow, and there's the door that I need to get to.
So many little doors.
Yeah, and that's why I had it removed on my ONE R, just because it's so darn inconvenient. And they come up with, there you go. So they come
Oh,
up
look at
with
that.
so many firmware updates that adds different features here and there. So you can do different things with it. Anyways, there you go. There is what you're seeing. I'm gonna hop on to a different call so that we can just kind of continue on. Is that okay, Ted?
Yeah. That's fine. I'm just reading. You Zintan. I can't pronounce your name, and I apologize for butchering it. But he is asking that he recently got approached by a client asking to do a 3D walkthrough of a facility on a website. How would you guys charge a client for that perspective? I don't necessarily know how you'd charge for something like that. Only because I don't really do live 3D walkthroughs. It kind of depends on how many square feet you're dealing with. And I would say figure out the overall deliverables, how much time you think it would take, and kind of go from there based on your hourly rate, what it would cost. So that's a tough one. I don't have a clear, specific answer for that. It also depends on where you're located, who the client is, what the deliverables, like I said, are going to be. If it's just a 3D walkthrough on a website, you also have to think about hosting. You're going to need to think about how you are combining that 3D walkthrough. Are you doing any web programming? So there's a lot of avenues that you're going to need to explore before you say, yes, I'll charge you X number of dollars to do this. So I hope I helped answer that question.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention at all. I'm gonna hop on the other call and see you there.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm still here, guys. Not to worry. And I need to connect to... Hi. I need to connect my overhead camera as well. Join now. There's so many of me.
You're just so popular.
Yes. So sorry, I completely missed that question.
No, that's okay. So
using 360 camera for architecture. So, wait, have you talked to Stairs?
I just noticed JR Dell 2012 was asking about if we talked about stereoscopic use. Yes, but not in context of the Insta360 because I don't think it does stereo.
Yeah, they have a specific camera that's made for that purpose. So basically, it folds out. My camera's right here. Sorry. So it. Ooh, okay. It folds out, and then basically it's like the eye distance. Basically, you take that picture, and then it takes. There's a very unconventional way to stitch things together. So basically, take one photo here, and then move your camera ever so slightly so that you have another photo that is in a stereoscopic distance, so that you can just kind of stitch together. And we have Japanese. Sorry. Yeah, so when it comes to stereoscopic type of capture, it becomes a little bit more cumbersome. However, the...
All right, I'm blocking this guy.
Thank you. Can you?
Yep. Yeah, I think that was spam. The joys of live internet. Is it blocked for everybody, or is it just blocked for you, for me? Report.
Hide user. User's message will be hidden. Okay. Well, I think it's all gone. Yeah, I moderated it. Anyways, so when it comes to stereoscopic type of use, capturing becomes a little more cumbersome than actually rendering. When it comes to stereoscoping, I've done ton of stereoscoping renderings because something like Enscape or Lumion allows you to do that. Whereas for the capturing, it's a little bit more cumbersome, and you need very specialized type of camera or workarounds to do that. When it comes to, let's see, the other question about using 10. When you say 3D walkthrough, do you mean like hotspot type of walkthrough where you jump from one angle to the other of like say real estate photography? I've done a ton of that through Matterport. So Matterport allows you to do this. Let me actually pull this up so I can kind of show you. Perhaps I can remove the overhead shot. Oh goodness, what happened? Return to home screen. Nope. Okay. Sorry, did I end the call?
I think you did. Listen, Joseph, if you don't want to talk to me anymore, you just tell me.
Sorry, I'm handling many devices at the moment, so accidents bound to happen. Anyways, you stay lower. There you go. I was just trying to disconnect my overhead cam, but apparently it removed the call. Anyways, when it comes to Matterport, I wanted to show you something. You can do 3D walkthroughs. So, and I meant to actually prepare this ahead of time so I can show it, but Joseph's never got around doing that. So here is one of the space that I scanned using ONE R, I believe. Just so that Ted could see us, I'm going to do this. Screen share. My entire screen. Share. So I think everyone should be able to see.
Yep.
And you should be able to see too. Good. And then basically this is a scan that I've done using this camera. And basically you enable the app on your phone and then you go and then scan. And then later on cloud, Matterport will stitch all of these images together and even give you this dollhouse.
Interesting.
And
I thought they had it limited to only their hardware.
They used to be, but they opened up the door like a couple, I want to say 2 years ago. And then they started taking more cameras to do this. So the downside is the fact that it is much lesser resolution. So
yeah,
when you look at it, there's a bit of a grain. I don't know if you can see it on the screen all that well, but there's a bit of a grain, especially in the dark areas. And that's just the nature of using sort of lesser cumbersome.
But it's still pretty clean.
But I would say this totally works in terms of real estate photography because you are still able to walk through spaces. You can go to different hallways. I think I struggled to go into this little closets and line them up properly. But
yeah, about how many square feet was this house?
It actually tells you. I forgot. It must be somewhere. Here you go. It's 1800.
1800. And about how long did it take you to do that? To shoot this property?
I want to say 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about what it is that you did. So if 1800 square feet took you 2 hours to shoot, plus however long it takes you to process this. So
processing is I want to say I took about 30 minutes actual shooting. It was more of a going in, and the trouble is I need to hide from every single shot, so
Yep.
I'm probably over that wall over there. So it's
Yep.
setting it up and then running back and then setting it up, running back. And if I ever have a trouble in terms of lining up certain shots and the app doesn't line them up properly, then I have to reshoot those. And stairs are a little tricky in that regard too, because there's a level change.
Yep.
And if it doesn't line up on your app, there's no chance that it is going to line up properly later
Right.
when you send it to the cloud. It doesn't take that long. And I've seen it maybe 30
Well,
minutes or an
so,
hour for processing time.
and that's what I'm saying, asking these questions to kind of answer you. He was asking about, how much should I charge? Well, let's just assume if this is taking you about 2 hours to shoot roughly, plus, processing time on the back end, setting up the web viewer, setting up these things, I would say all in, you're looking at 3 to 4 hours worth of work. So for an 1,800 square foot property. So scale that up or down based on square footage, and you might have a good idea of how much to charge for something like that, right? That might help.
Yeah, I've done this service and I can't disclose how much I've been
Yeah,
paid
no, I
for,
understand
but
that.
there are different way to approach this. And for Matterport specifically, because you need to pay a good amount of fee to maintain these spaces live. So this one
Mm-hmm.
is publicly available, but for me to maintain this space online, I have to keep paying monthly subscriptions. And there's a limited amount of spaces that I can keep
Yeah.
live public. So
What?
what I ended up charging is that there's a scanning fee, and then there's a maintenance fee that they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have to pay. They paid me upfront of however long, but there is a sort of built-in charge that I kind
Yep.
of made it so that I can keep this long for just kind of duration of certain type of period. So
Yeah.
so
X
that
number of months or years. Yeah.
right. So that's how I've done it. So there's a scanning fee. Obviously, you've got to take in consideration of your travel if you need to go anywhere, drive or fly. Flying is a lot easier with these cameras than the Matterport cameras, because the Matterport cameras are like the survey equipment. They're about the camera is yay big, and then it needs this massive camera, and you don't want to haul that around in
Yep.
flights. Not to mention it is expensive, whereas these, it's a lot easier. This is what I use. I feature this on my other video, but here's my weapon-like thing. But here's a feet that unfolds, and then basically you can set it on the ground, and it just telescopes so that I can have the height, and then I can just use this mount.
Perfect.
And
Yeah.
and because the tripod itself is light and the base is very heavy, because this is made out of metal, and it doesn't get knocked over as easily. Whereas
Yeah.
these flimsy things will knock over very quickly. So I tend to carry around like a
So,
weapon.
but not on a plane,
No.
like a weapon.
Well, you can
Um,
disassemble it. So like I feel like every time I'm on a site, like I'm assembling like a pistol or something.
uh,
Anyways, so you can either do a lump sum at the front for scanning fee and the maintenance charge, or you can, if you see that this client is going to repeat, then you can just have per project charges, and then that's it. And
yep.
if they are taking it down as soon as they sell, then again, you don't really have to charge for maintenance fee, because you're only having it up for only a couple of months at most.
Yeah, and then the other tool that I've been using in our office is called 3D Vista. I don't know if you've ever messed with that, Joseph, but they've got a pretty nifty. They don't do 3D in the sense that Matterport does, where you get like a three-dimensional viewport of the house, but they do a really cool job of stitching things together and giving you the ability to generate lots of hotspots, giving you the ability to embed video and interactive elements. So it's a really useful tool if anybody's planning on doing this sort of thing. 3D Vista is something to look at. I think it's like $500. So it's expensive for the license, but it's a perpetual license. I don't think it's a license that you have to constantly update. Yeah.
Here's other one that I had looked at because Metaport's somewhat expensive. Cloud Pano is another one that I have used before. This doesn't give you that sort of move through effect. This is not a 3D scan or anything, but you can stitch
Right.
all the photos. So this is what they call like a hotspot method. Basically, if let
Yeah.
me see if I can. Yeah, so this one basically you can just click on areas and then it just kind of
And I
flashes
think that's
you.
good enough. I
And
don't,
and
it's a
this is
little,
good because you can use this with rendering things too. So you
exactly.
can render scenes and then basically stitch it together. So here in the editor, what you will end up doing is put a little bubble there and then just link a
Yep.
next picture. And
Yeah.
you can do a
So,
very good way. And this is still very intuitive, so it does allow you to understand the space and makes ton of sense. And you pay per project, and that is live forever. So it's a
yep.
perpetual fee that you're going to pay, and it's like $5, $7 per project. It's very
That's
minimal.
not bad.
Yeah, so compared to Metaport's full experience, it's much cheaper and simpler alternative. It's just that this one you have to sit there and put the little buttons and
Yeah.
link all the
I'm
images.
almost okay with that because it gives me more control over how to set up a space and how to move through it. This is nice because it's pretty simple and you've got all the views kind of at the bottom. The thing that I like about 3D Vista is you can do both. You can set up hotspots like what you're talking about. You can set up the uh, surface pads like in Matterport that you click on and move through, and that's really nice. And then on top of that, you can kind of outline elements, like do a polyline around the couch and create a hotspot. So when you click on that hotspot, it tells you what kind of couch it is or what kind of furniture is in this space or the things that you're getting. So one of the nice things about that tool is it gives you a lot of functionality for customization, and it also automatically like works with mobile, and which these do too. But it works with mobile and it recognizes VR headsets, so you don't have to tinker around with anything extra. So,
Both of
but
them,
there's so many great tools out. It's amazing.
yeah, the both of them actually allow VR headsets too, as you can see down
Yeah.
here in the corner. But you can actually play a little upcharge and then download this as a 3D mesh too for
Mm-hmm.
Metaport. And also, you
Very
don't
neat.
need to sit there and wait for it. Like you, you basically not processing on your own. It just stitches it on cloud and it spits out
Mm-hmm.
this. And it is very intuitive, I must say. Rather than sort
Oh
of
yeah.
flashing on you, having to just kind of move through space like this, even though the quality is but you can get ton of experience, and people prefer this. And then, yeah, for better camera, you can get much. It's not going to be as clean as this because they use high end cameras than what I
Yep.
would have used. I don't have a good example for it, but obviously you can't really click on random spots to move those places. You can only move to the designated spaces like this one here. I can only progress through a certain way. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
something that
Definitely pros and cons.
yeah, but it for cheaper money, for if you want to keep this space online forever for like let's say retail business, I think it makes perfect sense because like a gym or a model house for that's going to be up forever, then having these sort of experience makes perfect sense. Like you can check out how many treadmills you've got in that space,
Yeah.
or yeah,
Yeah.
so it makes perfect sense for retail type of experience too.
Wow.
Did I somehow uh, looked at most of chats? 2D floor plans. Yeah, Matterport can generate 2D floor plans.
Pretty accurate, yeah.
It is not clean, I must say. It basically is just kind of see this, so I can click on view floor
Oh yeah, have
plan.
you ever imported an OBJ from Matterport into SketchUp or anything? It's just such a
Yeah,
nightmare.
there's nothing that is really usable. There are other type of apps that you can use. Something that I have used in the past. I guess I'll do a little bit product placement too, but Magic Plan is another service that I have used before. And what they do is you just use the no. Okay, fine. Basically you use your iPad or any LiDAR enabled devices, or most of iOS devices actually, to scan the space. And it's not like a 3D scan per se, but it basically is as you just kind of scan the space with your camera, it is able to kind of AR or AI detect the space so that it spits out a floor plan for you. So if you're strictly needing a floor plan or of some drawing that is somewhat accurate and clean, and then more CAD-like type of experience, this one is a service that you want to use. And I have a video regarding this one, so it'll be fun.
Well, I'm gonna have to check that video out.
Yeah, so this one's very easy. It doesn't give you the 360 photo or walkthrough type of experience, but if you're needing to get a floor plan of the space between rooms and measuring areas and length of the walls, it gives you. And this is more geared towards like inspector type of or experience where you rent out a property, and if you need to do any repairs, you can actually attach photos or notes on certain type of space so that you can keep track of things that you need to do in that space. So I think this is a slightly different type of application.
Yeah, but if you can use it, use it.
All right. Who's lucky person? Okay, Magic Plant noted. Cool. Yeah, I think that is it in terms of what I can show today. Obviously, I have shown Insta360 good amount of space. I'm gonna actually test out this camera more and see how it applies to my workflow, as well as testing with Matterport and perhaps with Cloud Panel too, just because I feel it is something that is definitely worth looking at in conjunction with this camera, so that if you would like to see certain type of applications or service, then just let me know. I'll be able to just leave comments, and I'll be able to look at those type of application and showcase that as well. So here it is, what sort of main 360 camera that I'm going to move towards too, just because this is the latest and the greatest. And
I like it.
yeah, and perhaps I sold one to Ted as well. Uh, I'll also leave the links in the description for like affiliated links for all of these cameras, so that you guys could purchase them if you would like. And it does have a little bit of kickback to me, and it will help to support the channel as well. It doesn't cost you anything extra. So
Every little bit counts.
any other things to mention, perhaps?
Not for me tonight.
I thought
think
of a
we
next
about
week
covered it.
topic, by the way, before we
Oh,
scatter
what
off.
was that?
There is a very interesting Lego game, I must say.
Lego game.
Yeah, there is a Lego game that uses DLSS and ray tracing. Are you intrigued?
Okay, you've perked my interest.
So it's a very I forgot what it's called. I would like to feature that next week.
Lego Builder's Journey.
Mm-hmm. It's a Steam's game. I think it will be interesting to play this for an hour at least.
Yeah, I'm always down for anything Lego related. So,
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
and if all else fails, I have, let's see here, behind me.
Uh-huh.
There we go. Right there.
What am I seeing?
There we go.
Oh.
Right there.
Is that a box?
That box is a the space shuttle that I need to build. So
Oh. Is it a Lego?
I'm a bit of a space nerd.
Oh.
And or Lego nerd. So I've got this one. And
here's a bit of show and tell from Ted.
Yeah, we're doing a little show and tell. Yep. And then Lunar Lander. So I bought these kits a while ago, and I still haven't gotten around to building them. So
have you spotted this on my background, by the way? Do you know what that is?
Is that from? Is that what shuttle is that from Star Wars?
I'm trying to see if my camera would focus there, but here.
Oh.
I have no idea what the name is, but my neighbor gave it to me, so I decided to just show just for
it's the Hammerhead Corvette from like...
It's a Corvette something.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I haven't had time to play with it, but there's bits and pieces that just all does weird things. Anyways, since we were doing show and tell, I thought I would compete with you.
Love it. That is really cool. I've not seen that kit before.
No. They said they don't need it. They were gonna toss it. I was like, oh, I'll have it.
Who throws away Legos?
I know.
You monsters. Wow.
Anyways, so perhaps next week we do some Lego related content.
Yes, I'm all for it.
Whether it be like a game or building or some sort. Yeah. I think that is
for
it
those
for
of
me.
you. For those of you who are interested, you can be as cool as Joseph and get the Lego Star Wars: A New Hope kit 75244. So it's only $312. Oof.
Yeah, that's something that I would I would probably not pay for. But the Lego game's cheaper, so we'll go ahead and pull that trigger next week.
I love it.
Yeah,
I'm for it.
Yeah.
All right.
Perhaps do not play it before, just so that we have a first-hand experience. And I haven't played it either. So.
I won't play it. I will look into getting it downloaded, and we'll tinker around with it next week.
Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Thanks everybody for joining today, and hopefully it was a meaningful 1 and a little more hours, 1.5 hours. And if you guys have any questions, comments, anything, just leave it down below. I'll be happy to look at and also answer at my best ability as well. So I'll see all of you next week.
Sounds good. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night, Joseph. Have a good night, everybody.